Monday afternoon, highlight of your Monday afternoon, I'm sure now. Talking about how to build your brand. This is a 30-minute webinar that we'll run through fairly rapidly. Hopefully you've got a notepad and pen and you can take down some notes along the way. I'm going to do a lot of talking. There's not a huge amount of content to the slides, and that's quite deliberate because I think this is about positioning some of this stuff to make sure that you're able to take some notes and take some learnings from it. At least that's the plan. Great, 17:02 now. There's quite a few of you are on board. We may have a couple of latecomers, but that won't disrupt us, I don't believe. So hopefully you can see my title slide, Building Your Brand. We're going to talk a little bit about the strongest brands in the world that are out there and what it is they exhibit that you might want to exhibit in your brand. If you're building a brand, a personal brand, a business brand, building it from scratch, there's lots and lots of things to talk about here. So as I said, 30 minutes, and we'll dive into some of this detail. So think for a second just about some of the strongest brands in the world. Think about the likes of Apple, FedEx, Hilton Hotels, Avis Rent-A-Car, Nike, Manchester United, and what do all of those brands have in common? Lots of things that we're going to talk about in a few moments. But in addition to that, think of some of the smaller local brands where you are that have a strong presence in the local marketplace. What is it they've done that allows them to be something that you remember? Is it just around their service, their customer service, or is it around more than that? There's a great local business here, started a few years ago, Puddingstone Distillery, a local gin distillery in the local area to Tring, and they've done a fabulous job of creating a really strong voice for their brand, a logo, iconography, labels for their gin bottles, a very well recognized, well built and well structured organization for presenting their brand to the world. Okay, so some of you are going to be wondering, of course, who I am. My name is Simon Elson. I'm a business owner based on the High Street in Tring. I'm a business coach by profession, and this is one of the services that we offer, which is advice on how to build and present your brand. What gives me the right to talk to you today? Various things I've done over the years. You'll see from the slide there that I've created 5 startups in various market segments. Over the years, every one of those has required a brand to accompany it and to present it out into the marketplace. I worked for Apple, one of the strongest brands in the world, for 4.5 years, ran the European sales team and sales channels. Symantec Corporation, the Norton brand, those yellow boxes you saw in just about every retail store in the UK, that was my fault. So we worked for Symantec for 4.5 years, and in between that, a lot of work on my own businesses, some of which I've sold, some of which I'm still a director in. And lastly, I volunteer at NatWest for their eSpark program, which is helping small businesses to get established, entrepreneurs to get established. And I work a lot with the local rugby club. Again, all things that require branding, presence, and marketing to be attached to them. So that's me. So it's time to get stuck in. So welcome to Building Your Brand. As you know, your personal brand is how you appear to the world. It's your reputation, your personal reputation, your business reputation, and that's why it's so important to take the time whilst building the brand and the content to get it right before you present it to the world. So during the rest of the presentation, I'll walk you through the steps that you need to take to make sure that your brand is as strong and as dominant as it can possibly be in front of the audience that you want to target. So where do we start with all of that? We start with determining your brand's target audience. So who is it you really want to get to? This is the foundation for everything else that you do. Once you create a solid picture of the consumers that you're going to target, you'll be able to create a much better brand identity that they can understand and relate to. So get your pen out. So here's the 6 things that you need to think about in terms of identifying your target audience. So who am I trying to reach? Who would benefit from my product or service? What do I know about this target audience? Demographics. Are they an ABC1 consumer? Are they a small business? Are they a large corporation? What do I know about the target audience? What type of technology do they use? Are they on social media? Is it an older generation audience I'm after, in which case they're not necessarily on social media? Is it a younger audience? Do I need to adapt the way that I get to those people? What kind of media do they consume? And what kind of message will resonate with that audience? So one of the things you've got to do here is you've got to aim to get into their mind and make sure that you can think like they do and create a brand, of course, that they'll want to buy into. So step one, determine your brand's target audience. More often than not, when I take on a new client and we talk to them about who their target audience is, I'll often get back the answer, well, everyone wants to buy my product. And that's 100% not true. Your product, of course, will never satisfy everybody. So you need to think about some of the nuances there. Who are the most successful companies, the most successful businesses that I might want to go after? Those that might buy or appreciate the products that I sell, and those that won't, because of course, as I said a moment ago, not everybody is going to want to buy your particular product. But just thinking about a few examples of what your target audience might look like. They might be mothers working from home, for example. They might be college students. They might be older adults. They might be, as I said earlier, small businesses or something similar. So if you take a company like Starbucks, big, well-recognized name, everybody's heard of it. Most people enjoy the products that they offer of one kind or another. But what makes Starbucks different from everybody else? Why are they better or different than, say, McDonald's, who also sell coffee? So think about, when you're brainstorming the characteristics of that audience, what do you think makes the difference between you and one of your competition? So think about the characteristics like social class of your customer, gender, age, and so on. What other characteristics can you think of that might help you to identify and sell to that particular audience? Really, really important. So be as specific as possible about who it is you're targeting. And then you want to think about a mission statement. So, mission statements might seem like they're only there for the big companies, but that's not the case. Your mission statement is something that sums up what your brand is about in just a sentence or two, something that explains what it is you want to do. So a mission statement is different to a tagline. So for example, the one that always sticks in my mind, having read Shoe Dog, which is the story of Nike, the Nike tagline is just do it. That's the thing that you see on the side of their shoe boxes and what have you when you buy a set of Nike trainers. But their mission statement is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. So tagline, just do it. Their mission statement, to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. So as a business coach, my business, we have a tagline. Our tagline is Hertfordshire's complete business coaching practice. And our mission is to bring global abundance through business re-education. So you can tell the difference between the two. So my question to you is, do you have a brand tagline or brand mission statement? If you don't, it's well worth thinking about how you create those, because those should be tagged on to all of your marketing, on your business cards, on your letterheads, on your website, on your social media posts, etc. So create a mission statement, really, really important. With your mission statement, though, don't get too carried away. So you need to keep it brief. Don't let your mission statement become 2 or 3 sentences or paragraphs. It's a really brief statement of what it is that you do and what it is you want your customers to remember about what you do. So leave out the unnecessary frills, leave out the ambiguous words, and try to keep it factual and relatively succinct. There are a whole raft of mission statement videos out on YouTube, and I'll share this presentation for those of you that join me today at the end, and there are some links in there that you can find for a couple of really good YouTube videos on how to create your mission statement. Okay, so what's next? You've got to think about who your competition is. Now, a number of times I'll talk to new clients who come along, and I'll ask them about who their nearest competitor is, and they'll say it's Joe down the road is my nearest competitor. Okay, so what is it that Joe does that's better than you do? Or what is it you do that's better than Joe does? And they'll have ignored the detail about what their competitor is doing, what their pricing looks like, what their marketing looks like, where they're marketing. Are they marketing on social media? Are they marketing in local magazines? Are they marketing on the radio? And so on and so forth. If you're going to compete with the guys down the road or the guys in the same county or town or whatever it is, you need to make sure that you understand exactly what it is they're doing and in detail. What mistakes might they have made in their marketing that you could learn from, for example? Again, really, really important as part of the learning process to figure out what you can do better than they can. What visuals do they use on their social media? Do their social media posts get a lot of engagement? Do they do better on LinkedIn than they do on Facebook, etc., etc.? What do the customers say? Do they have any Google reviews or any Facebook reviews? Again, you need to make sure that you know what the competition are doing so that you can position yourself appropriately and hopefully put yourself in a better position than the competitor down the road. So keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer still. Age-old phrase, but still very, very true. Okay, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but only when it's done correctly, of course. So once your goal is to create a unique brand, there's no use in reinventing the wheel when it comes to marketing strategies and techniques. If somebody else out there has something that looks good and that's clearly working, is getting interaction on social media or getting interaction on LinkedIn or getting interaction on Google or on YouTube through AdWords or something else, there is no reason why you can't borrow parts of those marketing strategies and techniques. I'm not saying copy them, but you need to borrow the parts of it that are pertinent to you in order that you can build your brand and build your brand presence on those appropriate channels. So, for example, if you're marketing razors, home razors that you use to shave in the morning, that ship directly to your home, and you see the competitors are advertising something in particular on Instagram, for example, you may well want to go ahead and do something very similar. Just make sure your ad is better, bigger, better, flashier, and a little more tailored towards a niche audience, for example. Take it easy though. Be aware. Don't get too close to copying stuff because, of course, you've got all sorts of IP, intellectual property related issues with that. You don't want to be allowing people to see that you're copying their information. That's not what I'm saying. Use it as inspiration and use it as a way to differentiate yourself from those that you might be competing with. Okay, really important that while you're going through all of this, that you check in with yourself and make sure you recall what's making you unique during the process. What makes you different? What makes you stand out from the competition? It's really easy to get overwhelmed by the competitors and think, oh my God, they've already done all of this, and how do I possibly compete with that? Just take a look back at your tagline, at your mission statement, and remind yourself what it is you do that makes you unique and what you bring to the table that makes you different. Is it about your customer service, for example? Is it about your brand promise? Is it about the products that you build? Is it that much bigger and that much better than anybody else? Remind yourself of those things, take a deep breath, and then look back at what it is you can do in order to compete out there in the marketplace. There'll always be more prominent brands, always with larger budgets and more people that it seems impossible for you to compete with. But that's generally not true. It's about being focused, identifying your niche and getting the right message out there on a regular basis to make sure that you can compete and to allow you to make a difference in the lives of your customers and your consumers. Okay, so that's what makes you unique. You can make sure also that you bring value to the table and that you're able to talk about that in a way that is meaningful to your audience and to your consumers. So if you think for a moment about a couple of really prominent car brands, so Hertz has been the leader in the car rental business for donkey's years, and then along came an outfit called Avis, the competitor, who was trying really hard to compete with Hertz, and was losing millions in the process. And then one day their agency, Avis's agency, came up with a new advertising campaign with a really simple tagline that said, when you're only number 2, you try harder or else. Now, that doesn't seem like much, but basically what it says is we recognize we're number 2 and we're chasing the number 1 brand, and people supported that. And they got on board. The image that sat alongside that tagline was a graphic of a large fish swallowing a smaller fish. And the ad was a huge hit at the time that it was released, and turned Avis from a loss-making business into a profitable business, and they went after Hertz in a big way after that, as they had the money to throw after their advertising campaigns. So think about it. Be creative in thinking about what it is your brand brings to the table and how you're going to compete with the others who are potentially bigger and have more cash to spend than you. Nothing is impossible in that area. Okay, so that's value. Never underestimate how important it is to have clarity over your brand and their style guide. What fonts you use, what colors you use, what imagery you use, what iconography you use. How strong are those images? Are they HD images? Are they quality? Is that font something which is easy to read, whether it's black on a background or white out of a background or in a different color or overlaid on a video, for example? Really, really important. So 6 things you need to think about: your logo size and placement, where it goes, always at the bottom, always at the top, always in the center, wherever that might be. What is the color palette you use? Make sure that everything that goes out has the right red, the right blue, the right orange, whatever the color is, and is always used in the same way. Make your fonts and typography simple and easy to read. And wherever your ad appears, you make sure you're using the same fonts and the same typography. That's part of the strength of the brand. Iconography. So what icons do you use during your advertising or within your advertising? Is it something created for you, or is it something you buy from Shutterstock, but you make sure that you use the same things over and over and over again so they become an embedded part of your brand? And lastly, what photography and image style do you use? Are they dark and moody? Are they light and cheerful? Are they do they always have children in them or bottles in them or whatever else it might be? Just think about how that works. So that style guide for you in making your mark in the marketplace is really, really important to make sure that it's simple, bright, rememberable, and people can spot it out of a morass of other brands that there might be out there in the marketplace on a day-to-day basis. So we've got about 12 minutes left before we get to 1/2 and about 5 or 6 slides. So I'm just going to run through these last few reasonably quickly. So what do you think about the logo? What do you think about a logo? How important is a logo to your brand? Yes, you can use Fiverr to have your brand logo created, but that's not necessarily going to give you a quality that you want to represent you going forward. So think about how you create that. Think about who your favorite local design company is. Think about colors, think about shapes, think about whether it needs to be a name, your name, a name of a product, the name of the street you live on, whatever else it might be. Your logo holds some significant weight in terms of the overall brand that you present to the marketplace. And if you don't have the skill set yourself to create a logo or a brand style, hire a professional designer or get an agency to help you to build it. It might seem like an unnecessary expense, but it has a really important place in your presence in the marketplace. Just think about the strength of the Apple logo, for example, and how well that has stood them instead since the original multicolored version was then changed out for the single monochrome simple version. Very, very strong brand, recognizable anywhere. And that's part of the skill of creating a brand logo. A visual representation of you and what it is you bring to the market. Something else on logos, lots and lots of stories about how to build a logo, put it on your website and shoot yourself in the foot with it. The one that I always remember is an optometrist, somebody who does eye tests on the high street. Their logo basically was a picture of a laser shooting into an eyeball. Their business did not go anywhere because the challenge with that, of course, is really simple. A laser shooting into an eyeball suggests that there's something really significant going on in there, either problematically or that it's, they're performing some kind of operation on your eyes. Not what they wanted. Redesigned it, took away the laser image, and suddenly their business changed. They were getting a demand from the high street because of the strength of their revised logo. So just think about what that's telling people who are looking at it on a day-to-day basis. Is it saying, quality? Is it saying service? Is it saying that you're going to have a laser shot into your eye? Not a great thing to be representing your brand and your future, if you will. So to think seriously about the logo, really, really important part of what you do. And then the other thing that I always think about, which sounds a little bit fluffy, your brand voice. What is your brand voice? It's not the way that you speak necessarily. It's not the pronunciation you use or anything else. It's about getting the message over in a way that is meaningful to the audience that you're talking to. So is it a professional voice? Is it a friendly voice? Is it an authoritative way of speaking? Is it technical, for example? Is it conversational? Is it informative? Is it a mixture of those things? We try with everything that we put out to put on a friendly but professional note to everything that we do. That's our brand voice. We are a friendly bunch of people who want to help you grow your business, but at the same time, it's professional, right? Business coaching is a serious profession, and lots of things that we want people to take from the way that we present our brand out in the marketplace. So ultimately, if you think about it like this, you want to build a brand voice that resonates with your target audience and draws them in. Tell me more about what it is you're doing. Tell me more about your brand and your product and what you can do for me. Elevator pitch. Wow, we do talk about this one a lot with clients. If I had £10,000 on the table now, you give me your elevator pitch and I like it, I'm going to give you the 10 grand. So what is an elevator pitch? It's not your tagline. It's not your mission statement. It's a really, really simple thing based around 3 elements, probably. Who you are, what you do, and why people should care about it. You don't need a long drawn out story. This is one sentence that says who you are, what it is you offer, and why people should care. And again, that can be really, really important in your sales pitch when you meet somebody for the first time. How do you make sure those first 15 seconds when you talk to somebody absolutely say what it is you're about and what it is you do? The best brands build their consumer base by playing on your emotions. So if you think about the razor example I gave earlier on, or hair dye, or beauty products, or diet pills, or any of those kind of things, they're playing on your emotions in order to get you to buy into their product. What emotions could your brand be tapping into in order to build some strength behind the messaging that you put out? Are there feelings you can tap into, like love, inspiration, ambition, etc.? My favorite one of these is Lego. So Lego's mission is to inspire and develop the builders of tomorrow. And the name Lego comes from a Danish phrase which means play well. Leg godt, play well. So what does Lego make you feel when you think about it? That's the kind of thing you need to build into your product and your presentation and your brand. So striking with emotion, I think, is a really important piece of that. Now, don't forget, you also need to inject some personality into what it is you do. And social media is a great way of doing this. I am a massive advocate of making sure that the people in your business are on video, that the things that you do when you're out doing a team building event or something else, that those are the things you post on social media. You post about the office dog, for example, it's always going to get more attention than you posting about your latest business opportunity or your latest sale. So think about how you inject a bit of personality into the social media platforms that you use. Never overlook the small stuff. So don't overlook the small touches. Best example of this was an airline that I think was in the US. They were called Spirit. If you unsubscribe from their mailing list, what they used to do was to send you back a message that says, "Do you want to unsubscribe?" ? Oh, that's a shame. We aren't mad. We're just disappointed. Click the button below to unsubscribe. We will miss you. And I think that is a great way of just injecting a little bit of personality and a little bit of a small touch into something which is effectively is losing you a client. But maybe not. When they see that message, maybe they're not going to unsubscribe. Maybe they're going to hang around for a little bit longer to hear what you have to say. So how do you make your brand stand out and make sure the customer remembers you? So getting into the last few minutes now, I kind of talked about this earlier on, fully integrate your brand into everything. Think about the logos, the colors, and how you inject all of that into your into everything that you do, onto the website, onto the printed material you produce, onto the cars if you brand your cars, onto the letterheads, onto your business cards, etc., etc. One of the really good examples of this, of course, is something like McDonald's, where their brand is the same everywhere in the world. One of the best ones to think about is the Hard Rock Cafe. So same in every place you go to, right? The walls are covered in rock memorabilia. There's rock music playing. The logo is on everything that you touch in there. They sell T-shirts, and their brand message says, serving up authentic experiences that rock. And that is something that's really, really easy to remember and is ubiquitous. No matter where you go, you get the same message about the Hard Rock Cafe. So thinking about your brand, thinking about getting established, don't hop over the fence. So try really hard to keep things consistent. Don't change it every day, change it every week. Don't make a massive change. Otherwise, you stand a chance of losing your consumer because they get confused by what it is you're doing. Customer loyalty is built around the brand, and if the brand is consistent, then that is a really important part of what you do. Small tweaks are okay. So, you know, a small tweak to Google's logo recently, or small tweak to the Starbucks logo, it looks predominantly the same. People will buy into that and will continue to stay with it. But don't make a massive change and hop over the fence, as the slide title says there. Brand advocates. So you need to be your brand's biggest advocate. I'm always talking about what we do. I use it on my own social media. I use the brand on my own social media. I use it on the company social media. I'm copying, repeating, sharing all the time, all of the stuff that we do and all of the stuff that's important to us as a business. And the team that work here do exactly the same thing. So looking to expand your brand, spread the word, you need to be the biggest advocate. And your team, your staff should also be massive advocates of what you do. If they like working with you, for you, and want to encourage the brand to grow, then they should be doing exactly the same thing. You got to talk to an Apple employee in an Apple store. They love the business just as much as the management team do back in Cupertino. So brand advocacy is huge. Consistency, I talked about that a little while ago. Once you've developed that look, that feel, and that consistent messaging and the visual identity, if you will, that reinforces your mission and, of course, resonates with your audience. You need to keep on using that, keep on repeating that. And as you do, you'll find your customers continue to roll in on a regular basis. It's true, getting there is never easy. There's a bit of trial and error along the way, and don't think that it's all going to be done in one go. But if you follow these stages as you go through and build your brand, then you will find it has some massively positive implications. That's it. We jumped to the end where it's exactly 5:30. This was supposed to be 30 minutes. I think that's 28 minutes. Hopefully that didn't feel like it was too rushed. Thanks for taking your time. And getting to understand a little bit about what it is we do and how we can help. Branding is just one of the things that we talk about. From a business coaching point of view, we'll talk about everything else that you can possibly think of, from HR to financial to sales and marketing and so on and so forth. But I'm a sales and marketing guy at heart, and this is one of the things that we've always focused on. So I'm here. If you've got any questions, you want to ask anything, or you want to have a conversation about some other part of your business, my email is on the screen there, simonelson@actioncoach.com. Let me know any of your comments. Perhaps you'd email me your number one takeaway from this experience. And there's plenty of you on the call. I'd love to know what you think. Hope you're feeling confident about giving it a go and starting to build your brand in a positive way. And if you feel like you need a bit of support, give me a shout. I'm more than happy to help. That's it for today. Thanks very much. We're planning on doing one of these a month on a different subject, and they'll all be on Eventbrite. So take a look, make sure you register, and hopefully I'll talk to you next time. I'm hoping next time to get the comments enabled on here so that you can comment as we're going through the presentation. Then I can deal with any questions that there might be at the end. But that's it. So thanks very much. At 1 minute past 5:30, I'll let you go and have your evening. Really appreciate you joining me, and hope to see you soon. Thanks ever so much. Take care. Bye-bye.